I know how to make people aware of what I am and what I do. I know how to identify gaps in the market. I know how to make shine what it is that I do differently. I know how to go and create a business and make it succeed.
Are you looking to level up your business and or simply crack the code on how to shift from self-employed to CEO of your business? Wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, it's never too early or late to scale, level up, and shift up. Hi, I'm Kelly McNicoll, host of the Shift podcast. I'm a business coach, consultant, online educator, brand strategist, and marketing expert. And I'm genuinely so glad you are here. On the Shift podcast, we will share the real talk behind what CEOs need to know and take action on to grow, scale, be and remain relevant and successful, and to help others of you shift from that self-employed grind to leaning into and holding that position as the CEO of your company. So let's dig in and start taking massive action.
I know everybody has pillars. This is how I lay them out. I would say anybody who's in business, if they think about it, they were based on some pillars. When you talk to anybody about any kind of strategies, whether it's specifically just your marketing, any of those things, you're identifying pillars. So I'm going to lay out these pillars. And of course, within these pillars, there's a subgroup below it that goes with it. But we're going to start with these four main pillars. And this is something that we think about. You should actually create a cheat sheet for it as kind of like a reminder to keep you on track. And these pillars are there to keep you rooted in what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, so you know what direction to go into, so you can make decisions on the fly, because you can just jot on over, have this mental image of what these pillars are quickly. Maybe you want to write them down, keep them in something that you can see on a Post-it, in your day planner, something like that, to really just keep you from going off track and making calls that aren't really in line and taking you askew from the path that you were aiming to be on. The journey shifts, right? But the general path is going to stay consistent. The pillars are your why, the what, the who, and then the how. And these all inform one another. And they're in this order because the first one informs the next one, and so on. And then you want to go back in time and make sure that they're all lining up. So if you start with your why, and then you move on to your what, and if you go back and double check it against your why, and it's not lining up, then you got to rejig. Are you clear on your why? Did you maybe think it was something else? But don't just rewrite the book then. Continue on. See what your who is. And then look at the how. And then see if that's lining up. And I'm going to delve into what each one of those are in a minute, but I'm going to touch on a story real quick. And if you're listening to this episode, you probably know who you are. But I've had this conversation with lots of people, and truth be told, it does come back around full circle. I will check in with past clients. I will check in with just part of my network and people that I share information with, because all of you know I love to share and be helpful. And this is a story that everybody can relate to, is where you think you're going, who your who is, all of those things. And then the how you're going to do it. Often when you go back to your why and your what, you'll sit there and go, I was going through it. I thought this was the way to do it. This is where I was going to affect the most change. But now that I think about it, I'm going to go back to the roots, to where I first came up with this idea. And that's where I'm going to go to the people, right? So I'm not going to go to them over in this place. So say it's, business to customer selling, and then you think you're going to do business to business, then you might come back to the business to customer, or the other way around, right? So the why is super important. And the why is, why are you going into business? What is your driver for it? And it can be all kinds of different reasons, and it doesn't just have to be one. And in fact, it usually isn't one. As you know, for me, my top one was I just don't like having somebody else have all the control in my life, of my earnings, of my schedule, of where I work, any of those things. I just don't like it. I'm a rebel. I buck against the system, I guess. Um, I always like to tell the story about I'm terrified of heights, and I do the things that I'm that scare me. And so I jumped out of a plane on purpose with a parachute. And I did it more than one time. Like, I went back like a couple weeks later and did it again. I did this for a couple of reasons. One is I believe that it was an irrational fear to of heights. It wasn't, I understand jumping out of an airplane. It's a little wild. It's a little crazy. Not a lot of people want to do it. Even people who aren't afraid of heights. I cannot even get on a step ladder. Okay. This is how bad I am about heights. I see somebody at heights, like even in a movie, I go weak at the knees. And so I'm going with some people, and we're deciding we can either jump from 3,500 feet solo, and you do this whole day training to be able to go and just do this one jump, or you do like a much shorter training. You can jump from 10,000 feet and it's tandem and you're attached to somebody. So you're jumping from a much higher altitude. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to die because I jumped out of an airplane, it's not going to be attached to some Yahoo that I don't know. It's going to happen because I screwed up somewhere, right? And I know you might be thinking, well, the parachute might not open. We did training on that. So this is just me, maybe being a bit of a control freak, but mostly it's about me wanting to have control and charge of my destiny. And so that's why I chose to do that. And so this is part of my why. Another part of my why was just to be an entrepreneur. I'm not even talking about the business I'm doing right now, just setting out to be an entrepreneur. The other part of my why was I knew that I wanted to be a mom one day. And I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, but I knew that I wanted to have the flexibility to bring the kind of money I wanted to the household, but also flexibility in my schedule. Flexibility that, if my kid is sick for 2 weeks straight, there's no, boss telling me, well, you've missed a lot of work or any of those things. I don't want to have to answer to anybody about it. Just me. And so I can choose to fluff off admin stuff. I can delegate more if need be. And I can sit there and just go, I'm just going to do my client calls today. And that's it. Same thing on vacation. I can choose to take vacation when I want to. Don't have to sign up for it. Nobody has to okay it but me. I arrange my schedule as need be. Some of my vacations, I'm still working. And some of them, I'm not. Some of them, I'm working, just doing back end stuff. Other stuff, I'm seeing clients. Just depends, but I get to choose. So these are a big part of my whys. The businesses I went into them because they were of interest to me. And or I saw a need and it presented itself. How I'm doing what I'm doing now is all of my past experiences, my successes, my ability to help other people succeed and grow their businesses. That is what led people coming to me, is my successes, people saying, oh my goodness, how are you doing this? Because I've been doing the same kind of business this many years. Or how do you get paid that? How do you set this up? How do you not deal with this? How do you not deal with that? It's all about my systemization. It's all about my marketing. I can grow any business really fast. I could take any business that I want to do and I can make it make money. That is my ability. I know how to read the markets. I know how to set a tone. I know how to be influential. I'm not trying to be an influencer. And I know how to make people aware of what I am and what I do. I know how to identify gaps in the market. I know how to make shine what it is that I do differently. I know how to go and create a business and make it succeed. And so it's the marketing, it's that I'm an innovator, I think outside of the box, all those things. I love doing those pieces. And nothing invigorates me more than creating these businesses, creating the money, the time, all those things. And then when people are coming to me, I loved sharing. Man, I network. I love making connections, nurturing those relationships. I'm fantastic at those things. So that's why I do what I do, because I love it. I cannot do something that I'm not going to love, that I don't believe in. I want to be passionate about it. You know, some people are moving fully to evergreens. They take nothing from you. You're just delegating your teams. I don't want to spend all my day doing that. I like to have a mix. Nothing I do is not ever going to include ways for clients to access me directly. Not all of them, right? There's a tiered level that's costs the money to do that. But oh my goodness, there's nothing that energizes me more than talking to a group of people or working one-on-one with a client, having those aha moments. This is why I do it. But I also do it because of that. And now that I am a mom, when I had to care for my husband when he wasn't well, these were things that were doable in large part because I wasn't in a 9-to-5 office somewhere working for somebody else. So that's my why. All right. Then it was what? Again, I've done all kinds of fantastic, wonderful things. Some of them I enjoyed more than others. Some of them I had partners with. Some of them I did because I was like, I know how to do this. I have contacts to do this. I'll do that thing. Wasn't super crazy about it. But I was really good at creating the business and making it successful. So again, it's what led me to here. So my what? So now what is it that I do? I'm a business consultant and coach. Specifically, I do brand strategy. And that allows me to touch on all the things, helping you get rooted in your pillars, helping you define your market and not let the market define you, teaching you how to be influential and not try to be an influencer, teaching you how to understand the market, do the market research so that you can succeed. And so that you will learn these tools that will allow you to shift and pivot. I'm always talking about creating this space, right? It's just this vessel. It's part of how we manifest. It's if we create it and leave the door open, we get up, we show up, we stay rooted in our intentions, our vision, our mission, and we just keep doing that, it's going to come back to us. And when it does, once you create that flow, that energy, oh my goodness, as long as you stay in that space, I promise you it'll keep coming that way. There's tons of different ways to go at it, and that is really specific to each client, to the market, all of those things. But once you kind of turn on that tap, it'll keep flowing. And even in a recession, and I'll do an episode on being recession proof, whether or not, I know currently there's one. Maybe there won't be one time when you're listening to this. Maybe one will be looming. But this is how we do it, is by creating the ability and vision to see all of that, right? So that's what I do, right? So that's my why. This is what I do. Now this informs my who, right? Who is this for? Is this for somebody doing a side hustle? It could be, but that's not typically the level at which I'm working at. As you know, I'm kind of like, I'm an all-in kind of person. Let's do it. So if you're looking to do it in a passive way, we're probably not a match, because I don't do things like that in a passive way. And it's not to shade on it at all. That's great. That's how you want to do it. But for us, it's probably not a match. What's going to happen is, again, your why, you'll have lost touch with your why. I'll have lost touch with my why, and we'll be going in a different path, and it'll produce, you'll be successful doing what you're doing, but you might be having more of a business than you really wanted. And that's not my intention. My intention is never to make you create what I want you to create, is to help you create what you want to create, right? So who's my who? I mostly attract women, and I trust my gut all the time. Every time I haven't, I've sat there and gone, why did you do that? Because it always comes back to bite me in the butt. Trust your instincts, trust your guts. Know who your who is. I know some of you, depending on where you're at in your business, you are worried that if you make that too narrow, that you will be excluding people. But here's the truth. Here's the very important truth. You don't want to catch everybody in that net. You just don't. Number one, you'll spend a whole bunch of time trying to weed them out, or you'll get clients that don't really work for you and you don't really work for them. And that's going to take more work and energy. You're not going to succeed at what you're trying to do, what you're trying to give them, the impact you're trying to affect, the change you're trying to help them do. And they're not going to get what they came for either. So you're both going to be left feeling empty. And there's going to be some negative feelings there. You're going to doubt your abilities, and they're going to doubt who you are. They might even leave you a bad review or share that information. And trust me, word of mouth, on top of all the marketing you do, word of mouth is truly what will sustain you, okay, over time. So why would you do that? You want to just capture the people that are a good fit for you, or way closer. So you do want to narrow that down. You don't want to cast the net too wide, because when you do, you will not be able to deliver your service or product the way you want to. It will not be a right fit for them. Everybody will leave feeling dissatisfied, and you will be left second guessing. It will create a lot of doubt for you, and possibly for them too, depending on what this is that your business is, right? What your service is. So say if you're a life coach and you pick the wrong kind of client, you could actually cause them harm. You could cause them a setback where now they're thinking about this other stuff when it wasn't even on the radar, and it's not what they came to you for, and so on and so forth. And likewise in a business. Now, if it's a mug, I mean, it's a mug and it's whatever, but say it's art, and they buy like, not just like even a small frame, but a pretty big frame. They're going to stare at this big old thing that's, not right for them. So the who, you want to get pretty defined in that. So for me, it's women. I really thought that it was more women, say in their late 40s to late 50s. But as it turns out, it's actually a bit broader a group for me. However, those who actually turn into clients are still typically more in that range, but there is a piece in that early, in that mid 30s to mid 40s range as well. So that's what that is. It's women in business. And again, more often than not, it is mothers, whether your children are young or grown, even if you have grandchildren. But that's not the only segment of people that I get, but that's generally where it falls. My biggest segment is moms, grandmoms, mid 40s to mid to late 50s. That's just who mine is. Now, I thought it was a bit younger, and so I went out getting that. But again, as we go through things, we see what works for us, right? So again, I'm not throwing shade on anybody. And if you're 25 and you're listening to this and you think that we're a great mix, then, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, email me. Let's get on a call and find out for sure, right? So if you know your why, and then you know your what, and now you know your who, this is going to drive, influence, and your how becomes so much clearer so quickly. How are you going to get to these people? How are you going to communicate with them, right? So what's the language? What is the channel you're going to use? So if you're in house painting business, obviously you're not trying to market online, right? Because you're house painting locally. Now you might be as you go, and maybe that's the place we're growing to. You want to basically have people be you want to kind of franchise this out, or you want to manage these teams. So you're going to go and start, hiring teams in other places. But even then, you're marketing in a local area as well. So you want to do stuff that's in the local area as well as online. without some sort of online presence, when you're new to people, the first thing they're going to do is look for you online. Hopefully they find a website. Not that it's necessary. I'm just saying, hopefully most people go and look, and the first thing they want to find is a website. Some people, it's important how user-friendly that website is. Some people, they're like, they have a website. Good enough for me. Same thing on social media. They probably at minimum want to see, again, depending on the business you're in, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe they are Instagram people, maybe they're TikTokers, Pinteresters, any of those things. These are the places that you're going to want to find them. Oftentimes, you want to do more than one thing, but you want to focus your main efforts in one area. So say you're house painting, you do specific work, high end, right? You know that there's lots of people who hate doing, I have a story and a half house. So in parts of my house, from the ground to the ceiling is over 20 feet high. How are you going to get to that, right? There's lots of people like, I don't want to get into it. Maybe you want to cater to these people that have these large houses, large entryways, high up places hard to get to. That's who you're targeting. You know they're an underserved market, or whoever's out there, you find their customer service isn't great because there's only one or two, the prices are overrated, whatever that is, you're going to study your market, because now you know why you're doing what you're doing, what it is that you're doing, who you're targeting. You want to go and check out the market and do your research and see where are these people finding who they need. How do I market to them differently? So just because they go and look in, I don't know, online yellow pages, what if you went and did a targeted mailer, right? I know it sounds cheesy, but I'll tell you what, I did it with a business, and I designed it. I wrote on both sides of it. I did an oversized postcard. I put my photo on it, and people would find me, spot me in the street and go, I know who you are. I got your thing in the mail. I normally throw that out. I kept it. It's on my fridge. Do you know that I still get at least one call a month over that business that I haven't run in years? Why? Because that marketing was effective. Another way that I targeted in that particular business was LinkedIn. Now, it's not the LinkedIn that it is today, and how it would go about it is different. But the tactic I used at the time was I connected with people that I knew shared a clientele with mine. So they weren't doing what I did, but my clients were in the same place as theirs. And I asked to network and connect with them. And that's what I did. And a lot of those people, just because I sent them that message, now it's called cold DMing. I understand. Now we have to do it differently. But I'm saying this is a different way that I did that. So what's different ways to do it now? You want to put out there, what if you were to market online and you did it through YouTube, right? So you didn't have a YouTube channel. You're not doing tons of videos. What if you're literally just doing one marketing video? You can target, right? Because who owns YouTube? Google, right? So now you're going to do a marketing video and you're going to invite people in. They're going to give you their email address. They're going to follow your video. You're going to share the information you want to share. You're going to give them an invitation if they want to learn more and maybe work with you. And they fill out to book an appointment. And then you ask them more questions. What have you just done? You've shared information because they've watched the video. You've targeted down. You've niched down so that now the people still watching till the end and now finally coming and clicking on a video, they're that interested in what you're saying and in your product or your service. They know it's going to cost them money, and they're booking this call to find out more. How much is it going to cost me? I really liked what you shared with me. So that's another how. There's all kinds of hows. However it is that works for your business, we want to think outside of the box and go a different way. Pinterest. I know some people are jumping on the Pinterest bandwagon right now. I love Pinterest because it works on SEO, on keywords. It's one of the very, very few platforms, maybe the only main one really, that still works off of keywords. And everybody thinks that it's a place to like come with decor ideas. I know that's what I thought it was for. But of course it isn't. It's so much more than that. And again, you literally just have to come up with SEO with keywords. Your SEO is keywords. It's not the crazy algorithm, right? Facebook is going a little crazy with that. Of course, Instagram and TikTok, all those things, they're just overwrought, and it's really hard to stand out. And not only is it hard to stand out, I'm thinking about my customers and what they need. They don't need more information. They don't need, another blank template that's fill in the blank. They need something that is dialed in, that is created just for them. Is there a structure? Absolutely. But it's not fill in the blank, right? It is for them. Everything I do is for them. It's specific to you. It's specific to your business. So if that's the kind of business you're doing, that's even more reason. We want to think not just how do I stand out and be seen, but now how do I make it so that my client from the get-go feels heard, feels seen. So this will dictate, this will inform our how. We want to get creative about that. So again, your why is why are you doing business? Is it purely monetary? Is it lifestyle? Is it flexibility? Is it all of those things? It could be all of those things. It could just be one thing. It could literally just be money. And you go, because I want to get into drop shipping. This seems like an easy no-brainer business. I want to do that. I don't really care, what products I'm going to sell. It's going to be whatever's hot at the time, right? Like I'm going to just go with where the wind blows me and takes me. That is cool. That's, for you to decide. I just shared with you my why. So I want you to think long and hard about your why. And then I want you to think about what it is you're going to do. Does it fit? Years ago, I thought I was going to do an events business. And as I set out to try to put that together, I realized that does not line up with my why. My why is for this future family I'm going to have. That's a big part of it. The financial freedom, the flexibility, all those things. But always an important piece was, how is it that I want to be able to show up and be present as a mother and be present in my family life? Well, and I'm not saying all events happen at this time, but the types of events I was thinking about doing were going to involve a lot of nights and weekends. And I don't want to do that. And also typically be during peak seasons like summer and holidays. I want to be spending those with my family. So I was like, I'm not going to do an events business. What am I going to do next? Right? And that led me to my next thing. So what I was going to do, I had to go back and go does this really line up with my why? And then the who. I knew the why, the what. There's the who. Because in your why, you're probably going to need to factor in, you're going to have an idea of how much money you make. That's going to be the why. Whether it's this super lofty goal or whether it's just starting basic, going I need an extra $500 a month to start with. And I'd like to get up to 20 grand a month, right? And totally, retire my husband, stop doing these other things I'm doing. I want it to all come from here. I want it to be more than I'm making. I want to make 100K a month, whatever that is, right? So that is going to inform the who, right? Who can afford that, right? Why, right? How many hours do you envision yourself working a week, right? To make how much you want to make. That has to all keep lining up. Because if you're trading time for dollars and say you're charging $50 an hour for what you're doing, but you want to make 100K a month, I don't know how many hours you're adding in, or maybe you can charge multiple people for that hour. I don't know. I don't know your business model yet, but your why, your what, your who, and then it becomes very clear your how. And when I say it becomes clear your how, I mean everything will snap into place. What your logo should look like, your colors, your website, how that should function, the channels that you're going to use to reach out to your customers, that's all going to be in there. Because when you delve into the who and the what more deeply, this is market research is super important in all of those pieces. And I'll do a segment on market research and how you do that. But these are your important pillars. Keep a cheat sheet, because there's going to be shiny objects that come along that seem like they're easy pickings, but they might drive you off course. And sometimes that's fine, and that's what you need. You don't know exactly where this journey is going to take you. Be open to all of it, but don't get so easily distracted and diverted. Make sure it's still lining up with your core values and your mission and your intention. Write them out. Make sure it's lining up. And this doesn't matter where you're at in your business. I want you to line them up. I want you to think about, say you're deep into your business and you're doing 5-6 figures a month and you want to grow and you want to scale more. And I want you to sit there and think about your why, what, who, and how. I want you to think about, was that what I was thinking when I first started this, right? Am I where I wanted to be when I first started this? If you're not, we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We can repurpose, and we're going to talk about this in the recession episode, but because it's not just about recession, but you can repurpose it, right? And as long as you always stay open and communicative, your clients will follow you along the journey that you go on, right? As long as you just stay true to who you are and you're open and honest about it, they'll follow along with you. So if you look at all of this and you find you're off track, I'm not saying stop dead. I'm just saying then maybe it's time to make a pivot and drive it back. And that could be simply about automating, repurposing, and that's usually what it is. It sounds way more complicated sometimes than it is, but that's why we get people to help us. We add to our team, whether it's VAs or OBMs or social media people or a coach and mentor. There's people there to help you accomplish the things that you want to do. And it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It's not abnormal that this would have happened. So get rooted in your pillars, your why, your what, your who, your how, because it will only allow you to make better informed decisions. You can literally measure everything against that. My late husband was military, and oftentimes he'd come home and say, I got offered this deployment or this posting, what do you think? And we made these pillars to measure things against, so that when it came up, he could say yes or no pretty much right on the spot. Now, of course, we always talked everything out, but we had the top 3 things. So the first one for us was, what is it interesting work for you, right? If it's not interesting work for you, then, let's put that on the, maybe to no side. The next question was, is it is it out of country? Because for us, we love the thought of moving outside of the country, especially with the kids, and having that experience and, getting immersed in a new country and new culture. That was exciting for us. And then the third one was was it a check in the box? Because he had goals on where he wanted to go to, in the ranks. And so if they weren't lining up with those things, then it was a hard no. But if it did, even if it was just super interesting work to him, and as long as it didn't take away, as long as it didn't knock him down and eliminate his possibility for the advancement that he wanted to make, then it would be yeah, say yes. And I would say, yeah, you didn't even have to ask me. You could have just said yes. And he would always say, yeah, I know, but I just like to talk it over with you. I said, absolutely. So for everything we did, we always can measure against. So I do the same thing with my kids, with my properties, with my business. I measure it against, if I do this, like what is my outlook? What am I looking ahead to? Is this going to help further that? Or is it just going to keep it status quo, which is also fine? Or is it going to detract and take me in a different direction that I don't know that I want to go in? These are pillars that I can kind of measure against. And also, they give you your yardsticks to see where you're going. We'll talk about yardsticks another time, but pillars: why, what, who, how. As always, remember, you get to define your market. The market does not define you. And if you get up and you show up every day in whatever way you can, and you do it with an open heart and an open mind, you stay rooted in your mission, your values, and your intentions, then I promise you, you will always find yourself exactly where you're supposed to be. Until next time.
Hey, thank you for listening to The Shift with myself, Kelly McNicoll. I would love it if you could go to your favorite podcast app or the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and leave us a review. Your feedback is always valuable, and it'll help us reach more people and make an impact. So we'll see you back here next week. And remember, you don't always have to know exactly where you're going, but if you get up and show up every day in whatever way you can, and you do it with an open mind and heart, rooted in your values, mission, and with intention, then you will always find yourself exactly where you're supposed to be. I promise.